Okay, got it.
Okay, I think we're here.
Okay, great.
Got it. Okay. Yay. This is kind of exciting. Um, oh, but I have to. Okay, oh, I'm going to mute on YouTube. There we go. So I don't have crosstalk. Yay. All right. Well, should we just start?
Yeah, you're always good at
This is
starting.
so hard. Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Pod to the Rescue. I'm Libby,
And I'm Emily.
and we are doing something a little different today. We are recording live on YouTube, which we've never done before, because we've been wanting to talk about training tools for a really long time, and we decided that video would be a better medium than just having our audio podcast as usual. So, we've never done a live before, but here we are. We're going to figure it out as we go along. This might be a little casual.
Yep. And if you're listening on your regular podcast platform, you can go to our channel, put in YouTube Pod to the Rescue, and then you can come and see some of the materials that we're discussing because we're going to be featuring them, like Vanna White.
Yeah. Show and tell, a little show
Show
and
and
tell.
tell. Yeah.
So, um, some listeners who are really in the dog world might hear the term training tools, and you might know a little bit about us from listening. And you might be thinking, training tools? What? What are we talking about here? And yes, we are being a little tongue in cheek. Because there are a lot of folks who say, oh, you can't train without tools. And what they mean by that is shock collars, prong collars, things like that.
Choke chains.
Yes, yeah. And my response is always, I use a ton of tools in training. I have a closet full of training tools, just not the
Yeah.
same training tools that you're talking about. So
And
we want to showcase what we do use.
what we do use and what we use, like if we know we have a foster dog coming in or a new rescue dog, there's certain things that we think most people should have on hand or at least consider having on hand before they bring their dog home so that you're well prepared. So we're going to be covering things like harnesses and leashes, but also X pens and different ways to create a safe environment for your dog when you first bring them home.
Yeah, this is like a wish list of really useful stuff to have when you're bringing a new foster or a newly adopted dog into your home. And by no means is this list exhaustive or, you don't have to go out and buy all of this stuff, but it's just what we find to be the most helpful consistently across all of the dogs in our rescue. All right, should we jump right in?
Sure.
Okay, Emily, do you want to start with like the most important and useful and like everyday tools that you use? Or should we like go backwards?
I'm thinking like if I was prepping to pick up a new dog tomorrow, like what would be in my like list of things I needed to prepare? So I was thinking of even starting with what I think is the most important one if you're getting a dog from a shelter or transport situation. Um, and you're all going to be stunned because it's not something I would ever recommend in any other case, but it's a slip lead, which is like basically a noose. You could also get a martingale collar, but we can't even, the transport won't even let us take the dog off transport unless we provide them with our slip lead. And the reason for that is I have personally stood there in the parking lot where dogs escape from transport and were never seen again. And I know people, and there was one foster in our rescue who lost a dog that was never seen again. And it happens, and they come in, and their body is hijacked by fight or flight and, hormones. And if they go into flight, you might never see them again. So, keeping them safe is probably your number one goal when you get them off transport.
Yeah. And Emily, why is a slip lead helpful for that? As opposed to a regular leash and
Yeah.
collar.
Yeah. And because they can back out of a regular collar, I've seen it. And they can unfortunately even back out of a harness. We've had it happen in the rescue where they're panicked and they can just kind of like you can get a tight shirt over your head or a bathing suit over your head and it's uncomfortable, but you can do it. You can back out of a harness if you're panicked.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with a collar. So the slip lead, if they start to back and pull away, it tightens, which is like absolutely what we not want don't want to do is to then choke them, but better that than they get hit by a car or God only knows what happens.
Right. In order to actually rescue these dogs and place them in homes, we have to safely get them from A to B. And
Exactly.
so having that slip lead is really important. It's also, and even once you have your dog trained to wear a harness and they're used to that and they know how to walk on leash, if your dog is a flight risk or they are noise sensitive or something like that, you can use a slip lead as an added layer of safety. You
Hmm.
know, going into the vet or if for, some reason you need to cross a busy street or something like that. Like
Yeah.
we never want to put our dogs in situations that are going to scare them, but sometimes we have to. We have to bring our dogs to the vet.
Right.
If your dog is a flight risk, having their leash attached to a harness plus a slip lead is just that extra layer of safety.
They do make like little connectors. I don't have one here to show, but I think places like Trailblazing Tails make a little clippy connector where you can clip from the harness onto a martingale collar,
Mm-hmm.
which would, same as a slip lead, tighten. What's
Mm-hmm.
nice about the martingale is it won't keep tightening. It gets to a certain level and then it stops tightening. Anyway, that's another option because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had that dog Layla years ago and she had fireworks sensitivities and it was during the pandemic when people would like every day at 5 p.m. put out like massive fireworks. Do you
Oh,
remember that?
yeah. Yeah.
And I had a bad situation with her where thank God I had that backup collar because we
Mm-hmm.
were out on the trail like a mile from anywhere and the fireworks were so extreme that she panicked. And
Mm.
I was glad that I had that extra level of safety for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super important. And a slip lead is something I pretty much have one in all of my vehicle, like my car, Jason's car, just in case we're out and about and there's a loose dog running across the road,
Yeah.
and if I can happen to get a slip lead on that dog, first of all, it's safer for me than trying to like fumble if they have a collar on to try to connect a leash.
Hmm.
You don't know, if you see a loose dog running around, you don't know anything about this dog. And then, if you're trying to find a dog's help a dog find his way home, like having a slip lead, easy, just slip over. They can't back out. They can't escape.
Love it.
Once you have that dog,
Yeah.
you have that dog.
Safety first.
Exactly.
Yep. And then I would say the next thing that we would have as soon as we get the dog home is probably I would fit it for a harness so that I could take it out to potty without a lot of undue stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a training basics episode. I think it goes back to season 1, right?
Hmm.
All about harnesses and why we use them, and we'll put that link in the show notes. And definitely, if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. But we are big, big advocates for harnesses, and all of our fosters, we provide them with a harness. All of our dogs are adopted with that harness, and there are some harnesses that we prefer over others, right?
Hmm. And you've got one right there that we
Yeah,
love, the Blue
okay. So
Nine. Yeah, time to
so Mr.
demonstrate.
Fritzy here is modeling the Blue Nine balance harness. And he should really be wearing like a small or an extra small, but
Yeah,
I only had a medium here to model.
yeah.
But what I love about the Blue Nine harness, well, a few things. So first of all, you can kind of see that it goes across their breastbone, the dog's breastbone. It doesn't impede forward movement of the dog's forelegs. So it doesn't go across the shoulders. It allows for that free range of motion. Super important. It has a front clip It also has a back clip. And then a really cool feature about this one is that it has all of these straps that you just, or all of these clips that you just unclip, and it never has to go over the dog's head. So
I
this
love
is a
that.
great harness if your dog is head shy and doesn't really like something going over their head, which I think a lot of dogs are head shy, but especially
Mhm.
rescue dogs, and especially dogs who are new to a harness, maybe adult dogs, they've never seen something like that in their life. So that's one reason I really, really love the Blue Nine Balance harness.
Yeah, that's a great harness. And
Um, oh, go ahead.
that's just something you always want to look for in a harness is does it impinge that front shoulder?
Yeah.
Because if the front shoulder is being restricted, that's probably not great long term for your dog's mobility.
Yeah, and you can even tell watching a dog's body language when they're wearing one of those harnesses that really binds their shoulders together. They just don't look comfortable.
Yeah,
they and that's going to affect all of their behavior.
yeah,
And you just want your dog to feel safe. Bottom line. And if they don't feel safe in their body, how can they feel safe
comfortable
in your
and
home?
safe. Yeah. And then you have
It's kind of like if you wear a bra, like wearing a too tight bra. Like it just ruins your day, you know what I mean?
that is true. And then the other harness we really like is the rough wear.
Oh yeah, I have that one too.
And I think we usually use the front range. I want to get the flag line and try that. That's one of my goals for 2024. It's
Uh-huh.
longer, it has an extra strap, and I think it might
Oh,
be better for having like a flight risk potential.
okay. I haven't looked into that one, but I will.
Yeah.
So the front range, it does go over the head. Let's see if little Fritzy here can help us demo, even though it's not the right size. So you do have to go over the head, but again, and this is two sizes too big for little Fritz here. And Daisy's like, that's my harness. What are you doing? But you can see that it goes across their breastbone and then underneath. And if it's properly fitting, it's not going to impede the forward movement of the shoulders. It's nice and padded, so a little bit better if your dog is like really body sensitive. And then again, it has the front clip. It also has the back clip.
Yep. And like it with anything, it depends. Like if you bring home a dog and their body language is stiff and they seem to be not comfortable, I wouldn't start like throwing a harness on them and, clipping clips. So just, don't take this as gospel. Like maybe you bring them home and you use that slip lead for a couple of days,
Yeah,
or you don't use any lead and you just let them in the yard and then they come back in.
yeah.
And one other thing I was going to say is Sarah Walsh has a really great video. She's got a YouTube channel. She's an amazing trainer. She has a video on how to condition your dog to a harness because you don't want to just slap it on. And I would like use some food and she shows you. So yeah, we slapped it on Fritz, but we're not going to slap it on a new dog.
Oh my gosh, I am just realizing that for some reason this is set to private, so I don't know why.
Oh,
I don't
can
know how
you
to change that.
undo that later?
I guess I can, but no
I
one's
think
going to
you can.
watch while we're recording, which is hilarious, and that's fine.
Oh, can you unchange it now?
Let me
Should we
see.
clap for?
Okay, let's clap for Alex. And then I'm going to pause the recording. Are you logged into our YouTube?
Maybe I'm not. Should I be?
No, I don't know. Well, it says two people are watching,
Really?
and I think I'm one of them. So if you can see us, maybe comment. Like we said, we're new to this.
It's probably Hillary. Hillary, we love you.
Hi, Hillary.
She's our biggest fan and a board member and incredible.
Uh-huh.
We text her and be like, "Are you watching us?"
Perfect. Because I cannot figure out how to change this while we're actually recording.
But it says private. That's weird.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Oh well.
Okay, we're going back.
All right, so we talked about harnesses. Oh, more other harnesses that are really popular that people love are the Perfect Fit. I don't use that one very often, but a lot of people rave about it. Similar idea to the other two we just talked about. And then I actually work with a dog who wears the Alpine harness, and that has been a really nice harness for him. It's padded and comfortable. He's got really short hair and he's very body sensitive, and so it's super comfortable for him. And the other thing about harnesses is, you want to properly desensitize your dog and get them used to this before you just say, here, this is what we're doing.
Hmm. And we do sometimes use the freedom harness. It does impinge the shoulders sometimes. But one thing I do like about it is that it tightens on that back clip. So
Hmm.
you can use a front and a back clipping leash. And that is a nice one for a dog who's a potential flight risk.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so we talked about our harnesses. Should we talk about leashes next? Or
Sure.
I guess that kind of makes sense. So I'm kind of a leash fanatic. I don't know about you, Em. I have a massive leash collection.
I did until I found one that I love the most.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I have three really that are like my go-to leashes.
Yeah.
My number one, well, it just depends on the situation. But if we're talking about a standard 6 foot leash, my go-to is again the Blue Nine.
Mm.
It is this leash here is several years old and it's a little bit dirty, but like it is in otherwise perfect condition.
Is that the European leash where it's both like clips on both sides?
Yeah, so it has two clips, and the way I use it is you can make a handle. It has these other D rings at different lengths on the leash,
Oh,
you can kind of
nice.
see, and you can either use it to make that standard handle,
Hmm.
or you can clip it so that it kind of goes like across your body.
If you're tiny, if I put that across my body, there'd be
Well,
nothing
I've
left for
got a
the.
lot of space. Like, I mean,
Okay.
it's,
Yeah. Yeah.
so you can kind of put it over your shoulder like that. And, or you can use that to just have a shorter leash.
Yeah. Or you could double clip. Could you show on Fritz how you could do a double clip?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh, and it has actually it's 3D rings. So you can make a much shorter leash.
I love that. Oh, now I want one.
Oh, I think I have an extra.
Mm.
I'll grab it for you. So showing here on Fritz, you can clip one to his back clip and then one to his front. And now you have a double-sided leash. And that just kind of helps the dog orient in space a little bit. For dogs who are just maybe they're big leash pullers or they don't have a ton of body awareness, it just gives them a little feedback when they're on lead. Do you like the double-sided leashes, Em?
I do, especially for a new dog that's like never walked on leash.
Mm-hmm.
It can be handy. It's like a horse. I feel
Yeah.
like you have the two reins to kind of have a little more, you know, not I hate the word control, but just,
Right.
have a little more like, okay, like you can't run in traffic. There's
Sure.
times we do have to be like, there's going
Yeah.
to be some restraints on your movement here.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Um, and then, okay, I think we should move straight from there to the X Pen, which is a little bit of a jump, but we might as well get the X Pen out of the way because I do think before you
Well, I
bring
have more
home.
leashes. I've got like
Oh
a
my
half
God.
dozen
Okay.
leashes here, Em.
Okay. 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 All right. Okay. Sorry. All right. Okay. We'll go back to leashes. Okay.
Okay, so another favorite leash is the Trailblazing Trails long line, and
Okay.
again, we have an episode about this leash, about these leashes. But again, it's adjustable. I think this one's about 10 feet long. But you can buy these in all sorts of configurations. And again, it has like these little rings at different lengths, so you can shorten it, lengthen it,
I love that.
add a handle, use it double-sided style. And the great thing about these are that they're made of biothane, which is a really, really awesome material. It's like a rubberized almost rather than that woven webbing. And so they're
Mhm.
really easy to keep clean.
I love
And
those.
I find that they don't tangle as bad as some other leashes.
Yep.
When I took Daisy to Moab, I learned that they don't pick up those tiny little cactus spines that
Mm,
her other leashes picked up. So
that's nice.
if you're in that
Yeah.
kind of environment,
My favorite leash, I used to have multiple leashes that I loved, but my favorite is this Trailblazing Tails biothane leash. And it's just a simple one that's, I think this one is 8 feet long. And I love the 8 foot because I do live in suburbia. So it gives just a little bit more than a 6 foot, but I feel like it's not like a 10 foot that you could get, like we don't even have sidewalks in my suburban area. So,
yeah,
I kind of need my dogs to be somewhat close, but then we go to the park and the 8 feet makes it nice for them to have some agency and some sniffing.
yeah.
So I love that leash. It's really great.
Yeah, we'll put links to these too in the show notes as well as the episodes where we've talked in more depth about this stuff. Okay, so yes, like Em just said, yeah, we consider ourselves to be force free, but at a certain point you have to have some control over your dog. You have to restrict their freedom a little bit to keep them safe. Another way we do that sometimes is X pens. You want to talk about your X pen?
Oh, yes. So baby gates, I would always prepare a baby gated room, with like a real baby gate that like jams in the door. And then I love having X pens around. So this is an X pen. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just this like metal, um, and it unfolds like in an accordion, and you can put it up to like block off a room. You can block off your kitchen if the dog is getting into the trash. You can block off your living room if they're pooping on your rug in there. It's a great way to manage their environment because that's like one of the number one things is that we want to put them in situations where they can be successful. So let's say you have a rug in your living room that's wall-to-wall carpeting and it has a couple of smells of poop on it from previous dogs. No matter how well you scrub that room, that carpet is going to be a deterrence to your house training. So, block off that room with an X pen. If you have two dogs in the house, you can create areas, or if you have children in the house, just creating areas with an X pen is so handy. And I think if you go to like Petco or on Amazon, you can get them for like $50. They're not that expensive.
Yeah, they're available at most big box pet stores. I didn't have an X Pen because I used baby gates and other ways to manage the environment for all of my fosters. But I finally got one on this Moab trip. We were taking Daisy with us to Moab, and I was thinking, like, how am I going to manage her environment while we're out camping and blah, blah, blah. I was like, I really need an X Pen. And I made Jason pull off I-70 in Grand Junction and go to the Petco in Grand Junction
Nice.
to get
Yeah.
an X Pen. But it's so handy. It's so useful. We use it in the summertime. We put it, if Jason's working in the garage with the garage door open, we put it across the front of the garage door so Daisy can be out there. She can be with him, but she's not going to run out the garage door. And like Emily mentioned, it's super important if you have other dogs in the home to create space, to do those slow introductions that we
Right.
recommend.
We didn't talk about crating. I'm not as big of a fan of crating as I used to be, but I do like metal crates more than plastic. I used to like plastic, but they're hot, they're confining. They're not really my favorite.
Yeah.
So I like the big metal ones.
Yeah. Well, and an important thing to say about crates, especially when we're talking about rescue dogs, is that they are very, very important for transport.
They are, yep.
Safely transporting your dog is crucial. Like we said, in order to rescue the dog, we have to get them home safely. So using crates during transport, in the car, those are all times when crating is like absolutely appropriate and necessary. I still use it's not plastic. I don't know exactly what the material is, but I still use a plastic type crate in the car. But we don't use a crate at home anymore.
hmm And I think some dogs, like everything, it depends. Some dogs need a crate because they're, chewing electrical cords. And
Right.
so I would go on Sarah Walsh's YouTube channel and learn how to crate train your dog. Um, Puppies should be crated. I think it's a good safety tool and a good skill to have. It just
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah. No, and I think that crating, like you said, it's an important skill to have. If your dog ever has to spend the night at the vet, they're
Hmm
going to be in a crate.
It's true.
And if you can make that a positive experience for them, if you can desensitize them to the crate, teach them how to be in a crate, to have, to deal with that confinement, they're going to handle that better in the future. And if you start out, it's much easier to start out creating positive associations than it is to change a negative association.
That's true.
So I think
Plus,
it's a good practice to crate
yeah,
train just so
yeah,
they have that
yeah.
skill.
Plus, we're trying to help this family right now because their dog bit their grandchild over the holidays when their son was sitting at the counter having food and the toddler was crawling around on the floor. The dog was near the food. Some food had dropped on the floor. The toddler grabbed the dog. The dog turned around, bit the kid. If you have a crate and that dog loves crates, put the dog in the crate when the son's eating. Like it just makes an
Yeah,
easy, like, where do I put the dog? Oh, you put it in the crate because it loves the crate. So
right.
it is a handy tool. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, we talk a lot about managing dogs and kids. And when you can't provide active supervision of the dog and the child, they need to be separated. And whether that's an X pen or a crate, having something that your dog is comfortable going behind, behind the baby gate, behind the X pen, into the crate, it's going to keep everybody safer.
I agree. So I guess I am a proponent of crates.
We're not a proponent of leaving your dog in a crate all day.
Yeah.
I
And
think
I
it's
don't think
important to
it's
say that.
mandatory. Yeah. Like
No.
I don't think it's like every dog has to be crated. We used to be like, you have to crate your dog was our
Hmm.
policy like 10 years ago. And now we're like, kind of depends. If
Yeah.
it's an 8-year-old dog, maybe not,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are some of the tools we use to manage our dog's environments. What else, Em?
Well, I did bring just a handy, this is spray shield, which I just thought would
Ooh.
be a good thing for people to know about. Like if you're going to be taking your dog out
Mm-hmm.
and you're worried, you can get this on Amazon. It's like, I think $12, citronella scented animal deterrent spray. It's really just a good thing to have somewhere in your house in case there's a dog fight, which I hate to say it, sometimes happens, very
Yep.
rare, but your X pen can fall down, your baby gate can fall down. You have a dog fight, don't stick your hands in it. Go grab your spray, or throw a blanket over them.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen very often, but good to have.
Yeah.
Or what were you going
And
to
that's
say?
something that I carry with me on walks as well, in case
Mm-hmm.
an off leash dog runs up on us and starts something. Or where I live, there's coyotes. I mean, we
Yep.
come across, if you saw our reel on Instagram, I mean, there's a coyote living in our back field right now.
Yeah.
And if that coyote comes too close, like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
You know, we got to keep everybody safe. So,
Everybody's safe. So I do love having at least one spray shield around. I do bring it on my walks as well because of
mhm.
off-leash dogs. I've never had to use it, but I
Yep.
have it. It's one of those
Yep.
things. Like a
Yep.
seatbelt.
Yep. Same.
Yep. Same.
Okay.
Okay.
Now here's my favorite training tool. Yes. This
The
is where we keep the spray shield
yes,
in our treat
tree
pouch.
pouch. Doggone good. It's the way. This thing's filthy. It needs to go in the wash.
Oh, so is mine. And this is
Yeah.
old. Like this thing is at least 10 years old, you guys.
I love that.
Um,
They last
I
forever.
They really do. And
Yeah,
I have two of them.
I do too.
The doggone good. There
Yep.
are lots of treat pouches out there. So let me back up and say why I love treat pouches. And this is honestly, this is my favorite training tool.
Me too.
If I could only like take one thing away from all of this besides a harness and a leash, maybe it would be a treat pouch. Having reinforcement easily accessible is so important for training and for the success of your dog, whether it is counter conditioning out on walks to scary things in their environment, teaching them how to walk on leash, rewarding them, you know, doing mat training when you're in the kitchen and you want them to go to their designated spot. Having easy access to reinforcement it makes the whole process so much easier and more successful.
Yep. I love tree pouches. I don't leave home without my tree pouch, and it's
No.
usually full to the brim.
Yep.
I
Yep.
always bring like
Me
a
too.
third more than I think I need, just so I don't run out.
Yeah, same. And I've used other treat pouches, but I always come back to this doggone good. And I don't know if it's just because I'm so used to it and I'm so used to easily sticking my hand in there and getting the treat. It's just like muscle memory at this point. But it stays open.
It's the staying open that is key.
Yeah.
Like a
I
lot
don't
of
know if
my
y'all can
clients
see
will
that.
end up with these like floppy treat pouches that like clip on their
Yeah.
waist. Because one other thing I love about it is this strap. So
Mm-hmm.
like you're not like clipping it and then fumbling. There's not a lot of fumbling. Really,
Right.
you
So
want like a
listeners, if
clean
you're
entrance.
listening and not watching, it comes with a strap that goes around your waist. So you just clip it around your waist, kind of like a fanny pack.
Yeah, I do love it. Now I'm going to surprise you with a second runner up to the doggone
Okay,
good.
all right.
Okay,
It's
wait
got to be
for it.
good.
It's got to be good. It is the Rough Wear fanny pack.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. All
Gigi
right.
Moss turned me onto this. I don't know if you guys can see it because there's like
Uh-huh.
weird lighting in here, but there it is. Rough
Okay.
Wear.
Okay, I see it. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, you just can't see me very well because the lighting, but it's bigger. It's like a real old-fashioned fanny pack, and
Mm-hmm.
it has a front pocket where you
Nice.
can put, oh, look, I have money in there. Ah, yay. Okay. So you can put your money, your keys. There's a little clippy thing for your keys.
Nice. Okay. Is it
Um,
big enough to hold a phone?
wait for it. Wait for it. The back
Oh,
has a little place for your phone, which is
that's
nice.
cool.
So your phone doesn't have to be like in with treats.
Okay.
Because I have gone into T-Mobile and been like, my phone's not working anymore because the plug is filled with food. They're like, ew. And then
Who are you?
it has
It's
this
like Rapid
big
Dog
middle
Rescue.
section, which I don't know if
Uh-huh.
you can see, and then like an extra spot for someone who doesn't have a lot of treats.
Okay.
But what I do, and you really can't see well, but what I do is I have like my higher value in the little pouch,
Mm-hmm.
and then the big pouch is filled with like my real meat or, like whatever that Ziwi
Yeah.
Peaks or, lots of
Uh-huh.
different treats. There's like a little
Mm-hmm.
smorgasbord in there. And then I might have like a little bit of like chicken in that top
Mm-hmm.
teeny pouch
Nice. That's
for an
really smart.
emergency. It's pretty great and it's like solid. You can have your spray, your poop bags, everything.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Might have to
know.
check that one out.
The visual is not so good, but we can put a link to it in the show notes.
Nice. Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so the treat pouch, like, yeah, you can put treats in your pocket, you can carry a plastic baggie, but again, it's the fumbling that
Hmm.
I can't deal with it. So
Yeah.
I
And clean mechanics. It's so important.
Yes. Yep. It helps me just reinforce. Especially when I'm teaching loose leash walking, reinforcing in the same place every single time, right on my left side. The dog knows, okay, oh, this is where the reinforcement is coming. and having that treat pouch and having those mechanics clean is super helpful.
Yeah,
So
fumbling is a problem.
yeah. Well, and I used to worry about like looking dorky. But now like in the summer, I think I'm going like 2 or 3 fanny packs at a time now because I have my treat pouch and then I have a fanny pack with water in it and a bowl and all sorts of things. And fanny packs are coming back in style anyway. So, it just shows your commitment to your dog.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
It's back in fashion. All
All
right.
right.
Okay. So something else while we're talking about what we carry in our treat pouch. This is another one of my favorite training tools.
Mm,
Clicker.
I do love the clicker.
I love the clicker. So this one, there are different types of clickers. This one's the iClick. You can also the box clicker is kind of the original clicker. They make a
I find
ring
it's too
clicker.
loud. I don't like the
Yeah,
box clicker. Yeah.
yeah. They make a ring clicker now, but this is a marker or a bridge, and this is basically how you tell your dog what was the thing that just earned me that treat.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of my personal favorite training tools. You can also use a word, like yes or a tongue click. But for some people, a clicker is more accessible. For some people, using your voice is more accessible.
Yep. And again, if you want to know more about clicker training, either listen to former episodes or go over to Sarah Walsh's YouTube channel. Don't you think?
Yeah, totally.
She has like how to use a clicker.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not going to go in depth, I think, on any of these really here, but, um, you know.
And then I was thinking we should talk about like what we put in said treat
Mm,
pouch.
totally. All right. What do you have
Here's
there?
I didn't bring up a lot of treats. I'm up in my bedroom, but this is Happy Howie's roll, which I think is super affordable and
Mm,
it's technically food. I mean, I don't think I'd want to like only feed my dog this,
mm-hmm,
but it cuts up really nice. You can make it really small because small
mm-hmm.
is key and it stays hard. Like it doesn't turn into just a big blob of mush. So I
Or
really like
crumble
Happy
into little
Howie's.
pieces. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
like it comes in this sausage roll. If you're listening to the podcast, it comes in like a sausage kind of roll, like summer sausage or something, and then you just slice it and then cut off little pieces.
yeah.
It does need to be refrigerated. So once you open it, so what I do is I just keep my entire treat pouch in my fridge. I just come back from a
Yes, me
walk and I
too.
stick the whole thing in the fridge. So whether I have chicken or hot dogs or Happy Howies or whatever in there, it's fine.
I love that. You know, one thing I forgot to bring up was I
Hmm.
have these little silicone pouches that in the summer I use in
Yeah.
my, because like I don't really want chicken just like free floating in the pouch. That's kind of
Yeah.
gross,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's
and then I
smart.
could just kind of have it in the fridge. So you can
Hmm.
buy those. I can't even remember the name, but you can buy them online. We can put them in the show notes, but a silicone
Hmm.
pouch is really nice because same thing, it stays open right in the doggone good
Yeah.
pouch, so you
Hmm.
don't have any fumbling. It's not a
Right.
soft silicone pouch, it's like fairly hard silicone.
Yeah. Um, so while we're talking about treats, one of my favorites is the Real Meat brand. And I always buy the food because it's actually food quality. It's like you're not feeding your dog treats, you're just feeding them food.
Yeah.
But they come in little squares like this. And then there's what I love about them is that they're super easy to break tiny little pieces off. So you can get that teeny tiny little piece to reinforce because we want the reinforcement to be a little bit.
Yep.
You're not feeding them extra cups of food every day.
Yep. Teeny tiny. Tons of
If,
teeny tiny little
yep.
rewards.
Yep. And they're super high value for dogs. They have different protein formulas. So if you have a dog who's sensitive to chicken, you can get the beef, you can get the lamb.
Yep.
And and it's nutritionally balanced. So I just kind of subtract some food from Daisy's regular meals, and we make up for it in training.
Yep. Ziwi Peaks is similar. You can get that on Amazon or at your local supply store. It's from New Zealand and it's like nice little squares. It's a little harder to break up, but just a touch harder. And
Yeah.
I can get like 4 pieces out of one Ziwi Peak square.
Yeah, yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Hmm.
Um, Word to the wise, don't leave a bag open in your car in the summer
Yes.
because they are stinky, you guys. They're stinky,
Oh
which
my
is
gosh.
great for the dogs, but you don't want to come back after a hike to
It's
an open bag of seaweed
true.
pea.
Oh my God. My mechanic actually was like, I think something died in your car. They were like,
Was it just dog
Are you sure you want
treats?
to fix the shifter because there's something dead in your car and we don't know how to get it out? And I was like, oh, it was the middle of summer. I'm like, I think it might actually just be like, let me go look. And I looked through and it was a bag of treats in the back. Yeah, I was like, oh my God. So,
We're dog rescuers. Of course, we have random bags of treats all over our cars. Oh my goodness.
oh my gosh. Okay. All right. And
All right, what's next on our little list here?
okay, I think we're getting to the end, but I've got
Yeah.
like enrichment things for
Yes.
this new dog. So you bring the
Mm-hmm.
dog in, like we've said a million times, you don't want to start like ideally you don't really want to take it for a real walk out in the neighborhood
Mm-mm.
for a couple of weeks. It depends on the dog,
Mm-hmm.
but it depends on age and what their previous learning history was and how freaked out they seem. So, and do you have a yard? If you don't have a yard, obviously you have to walk it. So all of this is you depends, but having things that your dog can do in the house, so handy. I
Mm-hmm.
love this. It's the topple.
Yes, the
And
West Paw Topple.
yes, paw topple. You can put it together for a more challenging project. I wouldn't start there. I would probably start with like for a small dog, the
Mm-hmm.
small, and for the large dog, the large. And I usually like mix up kibble with wet food or pumpkin. And then the first few times I don't freeze it because you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to start hard. These
No.
are dogs that have not had to try hard to like they don't always know how to like keep trying and they'll
Right.
get frustrated. So,
Yeah.
but then freeze it down the road. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. What do you have,
Yes.
Libby?
Yeah, I love the topple too. That's one of my favorites. I also like the Kong style where
Yes.
I didn't bring one up here with me, but where it's a slightly smaller opening, a little more narrow. It's just a different type of challenge for the dog. But again, I love to fill those with, I use wet food. I mix some kibble in there, pumpkin, a little like low fat yogurt, not with,
Mm-hmm.
you have to read the labels, just make sure it's just plain, unflavored, unsweetened yogurt. But those are all kind of things that you can use. And I like using different flavors, different textures. All of that is interesting, and all of that is enriching for your dog to, oh, okay, this is something new. So I love Kongs. I have a big collection. I have a little routine of when it's Kong filling day, I just get them all out on my counter and it's just
That's
like
so
assembly
great.
line style. I just fill everything. I will even take the little crumbs at the bottom of a bag of treats and dump that
Mm.
in there. So it's like, oh, okay, something a little less waste. Make it a little more interesting and exciting for Daisy. So yeah.
I love that.
We also do licky mats. We love
Mm.
licky mats. Do you
I
have a
did
licky
bring that.
mat?
I have a licky mat. It kind of looks like honeycomb. That's a licky mat.
So it's like a silicone mat with little depressions in it where you spread that wet food or yogurt or pumpkin or whatever you're using. And then the dog licks essentially to get it out.
Hmm. I love that. Be cautious using peanut butter. One thing we have not mentioned is peanut butter, but
Mm-hmm.
apparently it's high in saturated fat and can lead to pancreatitis. So use that sparingly, like a little bit of peanut butter is fine, but don't like do an entire Kong full of peanut butter.
That's way too much. I mean, even for a human, I think a serving size of peanut butter is like a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons or something like
Okay.
that. So if your dog is doing a little back of the napkin math here, Daisy is 1/3 my size. I don't know. I don't
Okay. Yeah.
like a serving size of peanut butter for her would be a teaspoon, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And then the
and you
one
also have to
thing,
be careful of xylitol in peanut butter.
oh, that is so
Definitely.
true.
Read
Xylitol,
labels, read
super
labels.
deadly. So, and then one thing, we're actually going to do an entire episode on stool in your new dog with our veterinarian. But you don't want to like throw like 18 different treats and food products and wet food at your new dog
Hmm.
and have liquid poo in the middle of the night. So,
Yeah.
all
Yep.
of this is like use your best judgment and watch their poop and kind of make sure you're not overloading their very sensitive, stressed out intestinal system that's probably never been given rich food before,
Oh,
or
yeah,
quite
totally.
possibly. Yeah.
Totally. That's why I love canned food because you can usually find a canned formulation of whatever dry food they're getting, and it's the
Mm,
same protein. It just has more moisture in it, and
yeah.
that's a great starting place.
And pumpkin is
Pumpkin,
good.
pumpkin is
Yep.
also pretty neutral, and it helps with the digestion because it has so much fiber.
Yeah.
So,
And Elisheva talks about like using their kibble, soaking it, and then throwing it in a Cuisinart.
mhm.
That's a little above my pay grade, but at least soaking it, you could probably soak it and then put it in a Kong or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, just soak it for,
I don't know how
how
long.
long?
Yeah.
I would imagine, I think if I was doing this, I would probably like pour some hot water on it, let it sit for an hour, and then you could probably smear it on the inside of a
Yeah.
Kong. That's pretty easy,
That would be
especially for
great.
dogs who have food sensitivities.
Hmm.
One thing I want to mention about licky mats is, and all of these toys actually, the first time you ever use them, make sure you're supervising your dog. I learned this the hard way that Daisy will destroy and consume a licky mat of
Hmm.
any style. They make like the super chewer licky mat. She'll eat that. She doesn't eat a Kong. She doesn't destroy Kongs or topples, but for some reason, something about licky mats, she will tear that up. So always make sure that you are supervising your new dog when you first give them these enrichment toys, just so until you're certain that they're not going to
Yeah.
destroy and consume them.
And this is where that X Pen comes in handy also is these are really high value things potentially. And you could have a resource guarder, which is a totally natural behavior to guard resources.
Hmm.
So if you see any stiffness, any signs of stress in your dog, leave them alone. And I would probably just always be preventative and have like give all these things either in a crate or in an X Pen
Hmm.
so that they have their own space and they can eat it without feeling like, oh my God, someone's going to take this most amazing thing.
Right. Totally agree. All right. So other essentials. Let's see here. All right. This is one of my favorites.
Oh, I brought a towel. Oh, that's a mat. Okay, right.
Yeah.
I brought a towel too, but
So this is a
yeah,
bath mat, and it's just like the super basic cheap one from IKEA.
I love
Um,
that.
this particular one, but you can use any kind of mat that works for you. But mat training, again, something we've talked about on the podcast before, is super useful. It's a super useful skill for any dog, but especially a dog coming into your home for the first time, giving them a place where they can lay down. It's their spot. They're going to be reinforced there. They're going to get good things happen on the mat. It's just really, really useful. I use mat training the most in my daily life in the kitchen,
Mm,
because Daisy will be right underfoot if I'm working in the kitchen, if I'm, making a sandwich or cooking meat on the stove. She will be right there, and that's not safe for anybody. So we do mat training, and her designated spot in the kitchen is on her mat.
yeah, yeah, that's great.
How do you use mat training for new fosters?
I think it's a nice place for dogs to know. Like, first, I introduced the idea of like, this is where you're supposed to be. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really helpful when like hubbub starts happening. So, like the kitchen, or if
Mm-hmm.
somebody comes in, be like, okay, this is where you're supposed to be. And I'm going to reinforce you for being on the mat, as
Yeah.
opposed to like having them be out, like just jumping on people, or,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
getting their noses into places where people are annoyed. So, And then also taking that mat into as you're doing socialization. I love taking that mat that they have a positive association with and they know what to do to someplace really quiet, putting the mat down and letting them watch. I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
world watching. And
Mm-hmm.
then having that mat really shows them like this is where you're supposed to be. That PPPs of Kim Brophy, the
Mm.
predictable patterns of precedent,
Yeah.
creating something that like they know, the more that they know what's happening, the more calm they're going to be, just like
Mm-hmm.
with us. So
Mm-hmm.
take out the mat and it's like, oh, I'm supposed to lay on this. And then I reward them for being on the mat and they can watch whatever's happening in the environment.
Yeah. I love
Yep.
that. Super
Hmm.
useful way to use a mat in with your rescue dog. All right, is there anything else?
I can't think of anything else like of critical importance. Just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this is not an
Well,
exhaustive list, but
no, not at all. And we talked about, well, before we started recording, we talked about muzzles, and I have a muzzle up here, but I think having a muzzle and muzzle training your dog is a little more involved because this is a piece of equipment that you really want to properly desensitize and create that positive condition emotional response in your dog. And so it's not something that you just want to slap on your brand new foster or your brand new rescue.
mhm.
And we'll put a link in the show notes to the Muzzle Up project because that's a really great resource that teaches people how to select the right type of muzzle, how to fit a muzzle, and then how to train your dog to wear the muzzle and be happy and comfortable about it.
Mhm. Yeah, I
It's
think
a
it's a
it's a
good thing to know
useful
about.
tool, yeah,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't recommend it for everybody necessarily, like blanket recommendation.
Yeah. It's just good to know about
Yeah,
and destigmatize.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be bad to have one, like if you had time, if you had your foster for a long time, introduce them to the concept. Because a lot of times dogs don't get conditioned to a muzzle at home. And then, they step on a nail or something happens and they go to the vet and the vet just slaps one on.
Mm-hmm.
And like, which is totally understandable.
Right.
And that's their first experience. So it is
Yeah.
nice. It's in the perfect world. We would all condition our dogs to muzzles
Mm-hmm.
before they're needed.
Agreed. Agreed. It's kind of like the crating conversation of
Yes.
it's better to have that positive association and have that skill before you need it than it is to be in an oh darn I don't know if I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
say that word on YouTube.
Darn is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be in an oh darn situation when you wish that your dog could comfortably wear a muzzle. Awesome.
Yeah. Great.
Anything else, Em?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. Just remember safety and making your dog feel safe. I would say though
Yeah.
that's safety. Laura Donaldson calls it deep safety. Just
Mm.
letting their
Mm-hmm.
nervous system relax. Don't go fast. None of this is like a checklist, like dog must know how to wear a harness by day 3.
No. Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah, so let us know, drop a comment, tell us what your crucial rescue dog equipment is. If you have any further questions about all this stuff. And yeah, we hope to hear from you. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And if you like our content, please hit follow wherever you listen to your podcasts or watch your podcasts because we are probably wrapping up season 4 in the
yes.
next couple of
Yep.
weeks. We
Mm-hmm.
probably have a couple more weeks or months.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you want to stay attuned because we will be back. We are
Yeah,
not going to
definitely.
stop
Yeah.
doing this until we cover every single topic, which is,
And there's a lot to talk about.
yeah.
And we're new to this YouTube thing, obviously, but we're working on getting our back catalog up on YouTube if you're a YouTube listener. So definitely subscribe and stay tuned. All right. Thanks, folks, for tuning in, and we will see you next time.